Time is running out for the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. It is still unclear if peace talks will even take place before it expires. Right now, preparations are still underway in Pakistan for additional talks. But yesterday, the Speaker of Iran's parliament posted on social media that, quote, "We do not accept negotiations under the shadow of threats." And despite a standoff in the Strait of Hormuz, President Trump says he's under no pressure to make a deal. Speaking on conservative radio, Mr. Trump warned that if Iran did not negotiate, they would see problems like they've never seen before.
Hopefully, they'll make a fair deal and they'll build their country back up, but they will not have, when they do it, they will not have a nuclear weapon. They will have no access to, no chance of having a nuclear weapon. And we can't allow that to happen. That could be the destruction of the world. We're not going to let that happen.
We've got team coverage for you on this morning. Imtiaz Tyab is in Islamabad with more on the potential talks. But let's begin with CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro in our D.C. bureau. Aaron, good morning. So do we have any clarity from the White House on where negotiations actually stand? Because as we've just laid out, there's been a lot of mixed messaging, including from President Trump.
Errol, there's still no clear end in sight for this conflict or this negotiation, nor any real sign of momentum before the Wednesday evening Washington time deadline for a deal. But just to lay out the president's comments in just recent days, last Friday, President Trump told CBS News that Iran has agreed to everything that they've been asking for, especially in regards to not enriching uranium and transferring the uranium it has to the United States. Iran's foreign ministry pushed back on that and said that that has not been agreed to. After that, throughout the weekend, President Trump sounded optimistic about a deal until Sunday, where he re-upped his threat to bomb Iran's bridges and power plants. And that rhetoric continued into yesterday, Monday, where the president, in individual calls with reporters and on Truth Social, touted the military operation so far and the prospect of an agreement, but also said he's under, quote, no pressure to make a deal, that time is not an adversary for him, despite the rising gas prices caused by the Strait's closure becoming a political headache for his party. And Democrats on Capitol Hill are recognizing this moment. Take a listen to Washington Congressman Adam Smith, the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, talk about the mixed messaging from the president yesterday on Capitol Hill.
Trump doesn't know how to get out of this war that he started, and the costs keep going up. I'm also concerned a little bit that he keeps saying things that aren't true. Keeps telling us that the war is over and Iran has agreed to all of our demands, and we all know that's not true.
Now, Vice President J.D. Vance, as of now, is still expected to leave for Islamabad sometime today. And the president did say yesterday that if a deal is not reached, then it is unlikely he will extend the ceasefire. But we will see if that sticks or if any diplomatic progress changes his plans once again.
All right, Aaron, thanks for laying out the past 24 to 48 hours or so. Thank you. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab joins us once again live from Islamabad for more on all of this. Imtiaz, good morning to you. So what are we hearing from Iran this morning? The ceasefire is set to expire effectively by tomorrow.
Errol, good to be with you. Well, really, that is the question everyone here is asking. Will they or won't they? Will Iranian negotiators meet the U.S. delegation led by Vice President J.D. Vance, the same teams that just over a week ago spent 21 hours in marathon talks at a luxury hotel here in the Pakistani capital, only to walk away without a deal? Now, behind the scenes, sources tell us Iranian negotiators are under intense pressure from hardliners at home who say no direct talks until the U.S. lifts its blockade of Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, even if both sides do sit down, major gaps remain over Iran's nuclear program, its proxies in the region, and, of course, sanctions relief. The stakes are incredibly high. As we've been saying, that 2-week Pakistani-brokered ceasefire is nearly up. President Trump insisting that the U.S. blockade will remain until there's a deal. So, again, how likely are these talks to happen and succeed? We've been speaking to people who are expressing optimism, but now saying cautious optimism. And that really is the calculation here. We have a narrow diplomatic window, both sides weighing what they will and will not accept, and what they risk if they choose to walk away again. Errol.
And so considering that, Imtiaz, are preps still underway where you are for these talks to happen in the most optimistic scenario?
Very much so. We have to remember that the Pakistani leadership is pulling out all the stops for these talks. Around 20,000 security personnel are here in the country. They've set up roadblocks and checkpoints everywhere to ensure the security. On top of that, the world's media is descending on Pakistan yet again. We've seen a number of film crews from all around the world who are here for what are the potential of being historic talks if they bear fruit, for lack of a better phrase. But as we've been saying, Errol, there's a lot dividing the U.S. and Iran right now. The tensions remain incredibly high, but there is hope that both sides will meet here again, and even more hope that they will try to find some sort of deal. Errol.
All right, and Imtiaz will be standing by to provide us updates throughout the day. Imtiaz, thank you. Now, Tehran remains in control of the Strait of Hormuz despite the U.S. blockade. And President Trump continues to issue new warnings while pushing for diplomacy. We want to discuss this now with Robert Pape. He's a professor of political science at the University of Chicago. He specializes in security affairs. He's also the director of the Chicago Project on Security and Threats. And he writes in his Substack article, "The war's amounting to a zero-sum conflict." He says the fighting between Iran and the U.S. is a direct contest over relative power. Robert, good morning to you. We've had our correspondents lay out how this moment feels so fuzzy. Help our viewers understand what you mean by this being a zero-sum conflict, which may explain why it doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Thank you for having me. This is not a misunderstanding where people can get together and clarify what they mean. This is a collision of interests, and neither side wants to give up. The two main issues, the nuclear issue and the Strait of Hormuz, are zero-sum. One side's gain is directly another side's loss. Iran cannot both control and not control the Strait of Hormuz. Iran cannot both have its enriched uranium and not have its enriched uranium. These zero-sum problems cannot be divided like you would divide a pie, or it's foggy, so we need to get together because there's a misunderstanding. This is a direct conflict of interests, not a misunderstanding. Neither side wants to give up. In fact, each side has shown they would rather fight than give up. And that's why the ceasefires keep breaking down.
So where do you see this going from here? All, wars end with some type of negotiation where each side loses and gains. So can you see a scenario in which the U.S. and Iran manage the passage in the Strait of Hormuz? Do you see a scenario where the U.S. would pay Iran for its enriched uranium? Just some of the ideas that have been floated around by the Trump administration.
So I have studied the end of wars for 30 years. That's what my book, Bombing to Win, is about. It's about how the wars end. I've taught for the U.S. Air Force. We need to understand that as harsh as this is going to be on the world and us here at home, it is actually the case that when the conflicts are zero-sum, they go on for months and months because you need to get one side to accept almost complete surrender, almost the other's goals. That takes a long period of time, and there's so much fight that each side has now that this could really go on for months. It's not just resume fighting. It's that as the fighting resumes, the stakes will go up. And that's what we're feeling. We feel this going over an edge, so to speak, or a roller coaster down. That feeling is because they're not just fighting, they are raising the stakes at every stage on us. And that's, unfortunately, pain for us. But for them, they've got to decide, will they accept the other side's zero-sum demand?
So in our last few seconds, it sounds as if you might be suggesting a ceasefire extension is the most likely outcome at this moment.
It wouldn't be the most likely outcome. Fighting is the most likely outcome. The ceasefire extension is the most optimistic there could possibly be.
Robert Pape, Professor, really important to get your insight and share that with our viewers this morning. Thank you so much for joining us from Chicago.
Thank you.